Hello there and welcome to another episode of the most watched business show in the country. This is the Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV and I am your host, Michael Obodu. In the next 1 hour, I'll be bringing you a wrap of all the major business news stories for the week, including the extension of the deadline of the SIM card re-registration exercise and the whole saga with the striking LPG retailers. So if you're ready, let's go. We start off talking about the SIM card re-registration exercise. Were you also trying to register your SIM card at the 11th hour last week? It must have been a big relief for you to hear the announcement of an extension of the deadline. At least from now till September is ample time for you to be able to have your SIM card sorted. It's also impressive that the sector ministry is introducing apps to speed up the process.
The SIM card registration exercise began on October 1, 2021 to ensure all persons using such means are approximately captured on a database. The move, according to the government, is to strengthen the country's cybersecurity network. However, the exercise was characterized by several challenges. Topmost is the long winding queues at the various registration centers across the country, as people struggle to register both for the Ghana card and the SIM registration. The minority in parliament and other identifiable groups are on record to have called for an extension, citing varied reasons. In a media engagement on Sunday, Mrs. Esla Owusu-Ekoful said the exercise has been extended till September 30.
The statistics indicate that there was a 90% drop in SIM registrations as soon as the first deadline was extended on 21st March. Until a week ago, there were no queues at any registration center. People started rushing to register when they realized that the deadline was imminent after going to sleep when it was extended. About 50% of those who have completed the first stage of the process have not concluded the second stage. They have linked their SIMs to the Ghana card, and so that cannot be attributed to Ghana card challenges. I've also been informed that some people who have obtained quick loans from their service providers have decided not to register their SIMs to avoid repaying those loans. That is evil corruption, and you will be found out. Any extension of the process increases their costs. Upon consultation with the industry, and in view of the challenges enumerated above, I have very reluctantly decided to grant a final conditional extension. The program will, and I'm choosing my words carefully, the program will be extended to 30th September to end on the anniversary of its commencement. That will give us 1 full year of SIM registration. It will be reviewed at the end of this month, and any SIM that has not been fully registered by the end of August will be barred from receiving certain services, including voice and data services. It will also be more expensive to use unregistered SIMs.
The communication minister also gave a breakdown on the number of people who have been registered so far.
The challenges that have bedeviled these exercises include: 1. The self-service SIM registration app will be ready for commercial launch on Tuesday, 2nd August, as the virtual private network connectivity and API integration with all MNOs was only completed this weekend due to unavoidable circumstances. Delays in the issuance of the Ghana card was the largest single challenge bedeviling this exercise. As at Thursday, July 21st, 2022, 16,969,034 individuals have registered for the Ghana card, with about 16,535,623 cards printed. 15,702,719 cards have been issued and distributed, whereas some 832,904 cards have not been distributed or collected by those who applied for them. Broadband wireless access registrations also commenced barely a week ago, and they have only been able to register just about 2% of their subscribers as at Friday, 29th July. Many data-only SIMs have also not been registered, and my information is that their owners were not aware that those SIMs also needed to be registered. Those are the SIMs in your MiFis and other devices, not your phones and iPads and those other, but those data-only SIMs. I believe some of them are even in our electricity meters, if my information is right. So, where do we go from here? The security situation in Bawku and its environs has also made it difficult for the registration of residents and has slowed down the process in that area considerably.
Some Momo agents who spoke to Citi News also called for the deadline to be extended to the end of the year to enable more people go through the process.
With the extension, it's not enough because most Ghanaians have not registered or have not linked their account to their Momo account to the Ghana card, and most of them don't have the Ghana card themselves, so it will affect our business, and even what we are getting or the profit that we are getting, we are not gaining it anymore. So definitely it's going to affect. So we want the government to extend it to the ending of the year, so that it will at least help us all.
Do you have a lot of people coming in who are yet to merge their Ghana card with their SIM card?
Yeah, most people don't even have the Ghana card.
Wow.
Most don't have. So when they come, they just send it to me. I should do it for them, and it's a big challenge.
Even to September is not enough. A lot of people have still not done it. They have been going there like several times, but they are not getting it. So it would be good to extend it to the end of the year.
It's not long enough. Yes, it's not long enough.
Is there a situation that most of your clients who come to do Momo transactions are not registered? They've not already linked their Ghana cards to them?
Yes, most of them have not linked up to the Ghana card. There's so much pressure on the telcos, so much pressure on the NIA. So with a little bit of time to the end of the year, we are trusting that majority of Ghanaians will be able to do the re-registration as they are all expecting.
Did you hear that there were plans to sell Vodafone Ghana? Well, Vodafone PLC decided to trade its majority stake in Ghana to Africa-focused Telecel. The company is exiting Ghana's telecom market to enable it to refocus on its major markets. But the move has faced some stumbling blocks.
Vodafone Ghana, formerly Ghana Telecommunications Company, is Ghana's second largest telecommunications company. The company operates on the British company Vodacom Group. On July 3, 2008, Vodafone Group plc entered the Ghanaian market when it acquired a stake of the then Ghana Telecommunications Company for $900 million at a total enterprise value of approximately $1.3 billion. After the transaction, Vodafone had a 70% stake in the company, while the Ghanaian government retained a 30% stake. After working within the Ghanaian market for close to 14 years, the Vodafone Group last week announced its intention to exit Ghana's telecoms market to enable the service provider refocus on its key markets. According to Bloomberg, the British telecommunication giant has agreed to offload 70% of its stake in Ghana's operations to Africa-focused telecoms company Telcel Group, subject to regulatory approval by the Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Communications. Telecel Global is a leading telecommunications service provider for operators and enterprise clients globally, with a particular focus on Africa. Founded in 1986, Telcel operates in more than 30 countries. The company has a history of growth through acquisitions, having struck deals in Gibraltar, Liberia, Mauritania, and Zimbabwe in recent years. But what does this move mean for the Ghanaian telecommunications industry? Telcoms expert Fuad Chalabi throws more light behind Vodafone's decision.
I think the impact was supposed to happen when Vodafone came into the market because it is the same size of player. And today, if a sizable player is coming to compete with MTN, then you can say like, okay, they will bring new things, they will do. But definitely, maybe their main business is not into the subscriber mobile operator. Maybe they have more planned than like acquiring a subscriber. And maybe it is a good boost to their existing business because where they are operating today in terms of mobile operator, it is not that volume.
Fuad Chalabi also explains the impact the move will have on Vodafone's mobile subscribers.
I don't think there is anything to worry about, in fact, because like in that field, it's business as usual. And today, subscriber, they have option because there has been a lot of platform that has been provided thanks to the NCA. Now you can have a portal, you can move your number, you are not happy with this service. So this is why people who are serious in providing the service, they kept their service up to a certain standard in order to avoid people porting their number to other operators.
However, on Tuesday, August 2, 2022, the National Communications Authority, NCA, denied an application by the Vodafone Group to transfer 70% majority shares in Vodafone Ghana to the Telcel Group. The authority, after a critical regulatory review and evaluation, concluded that the request did not meet the regulatory threshold for the approval to be granted. It, however, stressed that it only endeavored to ensure compliance with the regulatory framework and international best practices. Meanwhile, Telcel Group says it is willing to re-engage government to get the clearance to acquire Vodafone PLC's operations in Ghana. In a statement issued on August 3, 2022, Telcel confirmed that it has signed a sale and purchase agreement with Vodafone to acquire a 70% stake in its Ghanaian subsidiary, adding that the agreement is currently pending regulatory approval. It noted that it had received responses from the Ghanaian authorities which have not granted the approvals yet. It further stated that the acquisition is fully financed by Telcel Group and its partner, adding that the potential sale of Vodafone Ghana is not part of the acquisition funding. Telcel also plans to spend about $500 million within the first 3 years to expand and refinance Vodafone's network across the country.
My holiday on Thursday was almost ruined after I woke up to an empty gas cylinder. It was very unnerving knowing that the LPG marketers were on strike. Where do I start my search from? And if I was fortunate to find a retail outlet that was operating, it definitely would have been overcrowded. So you can imagine how thankful I was to have heard that they had finally called off the strike that morning. It was such a relief. The LPG Marketers Association of Ghana on Monday embarked on a nationwide industrial action which left many consumers stranded. The association argues that since the proposal of the cylinder recirculation policy, many of their members were stopped from completing construction works on their new sites, a development they lamented cost them above $10 million. However, on Thursday, the group announced an end to the strike after they received notice from the National Petroleum Authority that the embargo on the construction of new LPG stations had been lifted.
Every LPG station that has stock of product has opened for business. So consumers should go to their favorite stations, buy their favorite LPG and go and have some cooking at home. Today is a holiday, so they can enjoy with their family. But we wish this never happens again. For a businessman to wake up one fine morning and say that I'm closing the business that feeds me and my family, I'm closing it up. It tells you that what is following that person is quite huge and it's quite serious. We have lost a lot. In fact, we can't really quantify what we've lost for the past 3 days, or almost 4 days. But sometimes it's good to lose to gain. It got to a situation when our members were dying out of frustration. So we needed to step in to ensure that we rectify the problem.
Consumers of LPG were elated at the announcement as many of them had been frustrated by the strike.
Oh, I'm happy because since yesterday I didn't have gas. I didn't cook because of gas yesterday, so I had to buy food outside. And besides, the increase in price is also disturbing us. You know, every time I come to buy gas, I will see that they've added money. If it's not 10 cedis, 5 cedis. That is disturbing.
But at least you're happy now that you can get some to buy.
Oh, of course I am. I am. When they told me that they had gas, I had to run.
Even though the LPG Marketers Association have called off their strike, their counterparts, the Ghana National Petroleum Tanker Drivers Association, who were also on strike for similar reasons, stressed that they would not call off the industrial action because not all their concerns have been addressed.
There is a tracker, okay? We are not kicking against the tracker, but the system in which the tracker is working is going against us. Simply because they will track the truck, all right, and considering our road, the nature of our road today, when you are on the road, even let me give you for example, from Achimota to Nsawam, look at the number of potholes, the condition of the road. When the truck is shaking, the sail is shaking, it gives a signal at MPA. Then it end up that the driver temper the product, you temper the sail. When you said the temper of the sail, you didn't temper the product, but the sail is indicating that you temper something. So those are the challenges that we are talking about. This thing, if it must be solved, they need to solve it once and for all. That is the reason why we are looking at, because they have done it to us before. The moment we call off the strike, when you knock their door, they will not open, they will not listen to you.
Let's now talk about reactions to the mid-year budget review presentation. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, believes some policies like the electronic transfer levy must be relooked to help improve the country's revenues. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, has reiterated its call for a downward review of the electronic transfer levy rate to encourage more public participation. The levy, which was maintained in the mid-year budget review at 1.5% on some electronic transactions, forms part of government's local revenue mobilization efforts. This is despite the policy raising just about 10% of its revenue target since its introduction. Director of ISE, Professor Peter Kwoti, stressed that lowering the rate could improve its revenue generation.
The famous e-levy. So far, it has yielded 611 million cedis out of a target of 6.96 billion cedis. Calls for a reduction in the rate. They need to look at the rate. I always say this, that this is a commodity that has substitutes. I can decide to send money through mobile money or e-transfer. I could decide to pay somebody with a check and avoid e-levy. I could decide to walk to the bank and pay money, or I could give you cash. So this is something that has substitutes. And when we are pricing a commodity that has substitutes, you price low. It is only when you price low that more people will use the service. If the demand is inelastic, then you can price high.
He further highlighted other areas of the budget his outfit believes must be restructured in order for government to meet its revenue targets.
We spoke about revenue enhancing measures. We think in order to achieve the budget deficit target, which we think is ambitious, we have to enhance our revenue generation. And one area is the non-tax revenue, state-owned enterprises, property rates especially. We think we can rake in more revenue from non-tax revenue, as well as even from tax revenue. If we use more of the digitalization processes, that will certainly be good. Then the exemptions, we think the tax exemption is quite high, and luckily we have a tax exemption law that should be implemented, but not just be implemented, we need to monitor and evaluate so that we get value for money. It's not an issue of giving people tax exemptions and not following up to see whether they're actually employing more people than they are actually employing people, as stated. They're actually investing in the needed areas, etc. So some monitoring and evaluation of our tax exemptions would indeed help.
I'm sure you heard of the finance minister stating that the government planned on increasing its gold reserves to improve its reserve position. Economist with Databank, Courage Mate, has emphasized the need for the government to quicken its efforts to grow the stock of gold through its domestic gold purchasing program. According to him, this will protect the value of our currency and support balance of payment.
Recent data from the Bank of Ghana's Summary of Macroeconomic and Financial Data for the period ending July 2022 shows that Ghana's international gross reserves has declined to $7.7 billion at the end of June 2022 compared to the $9.7 billion the country had at the end of December 2021. The decline in the reserve buffer, which is equivalent to 3.4 months of import cover alongside unfavorable global financing conditions, has exerted significant pressures on the foreign exchange market. This comes despite Parliament approving the $750 million loan between Ghana and the Afri-Exim Bank earlier this year. The revelation of the remaining foreign reserves has triggered a barrage of reactions about the deteriorating state of the country's finances. As part of efforts to improve the country's reserves position, economist with Databank Courage Mate emphasized the need for government to quicken its efforts to grow the stock of gold in its possession through its domestic gold purchasing program. In an interview with Citi Business News, Courage Mate noted that the move will also protect the value of our currency and support balance of payment.
The decline in the gross reserves is a culmination of a number of adverse developments within the external accounts, as high up from the current account deficit descending down to the capital and financial account. Things are not looking good. They're actually looking worse than a year ago. And so that's telling on the reserves position. And ultimately, what we can do in the short term is to try and ease investor concerns, because one of the things that is exerting pressure on the reserves is foreign investor apprehensions, selling out, and exerting pressure on the local currency. One way to ease investor concern is to put forward a credible budget, a credible fiscal outlook or fiscal plan, because they do not trust what we currently are implementing. And that's why they are exiting as fast as they are doing. It will be nice to have a higher stock of gold in the reserves, because that is the one we own. We do not owe. If you borrow Euro bonds, you owe and you have to pay back, and that ultimately exposes the reserves a year down the line. But if you improve the stock of gold in your reserve as a gold producer, you own it, and it's always part of your reserve. So we want to see good progress on that front.
Parliament recently passed the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill, which introduces the VAT policy. The tax measure widens the scope of the existing tax laws to cover electronic commerce, provide for the electronic issuance for tax invoice, upfront payment of value-added tax by an unregistered importer, and the zero rating of the supply of locally assembled vehicles. Through this, the government seeks to rake 750 million Ghana cedis.
The value-added tax VAT continues to be the most prolific tax handle for domestic revenue mobilization, but the manual systems being used by traders make monitoring and revenue assurance difficult and unwieldy. It is for this reason that the government is introducing an electronic invoicing system, that's the EVAT, that will be rolled out to enable the Ghana Revenue Authority have a real-time view of VAT-related transactions for the collection of tax. In the mid-year budget review, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta disclosed that the GRE is finalizing all relevant processes to facilitate the implementation of the system, which includes a proposed amendment of the Value Added Tax Act 870 to enable its electronic collection effective 1st October 2022. The tax measure broadens the scope of the existing laws to cover electronic commerce, provide for the electronic issuance of a tax invoice, upfront payment of value-added tax by an unregistered importer, and the zero rating of the supply of locally assembled vehicles. A report of the Finance Committee of Parliament indicates that the EVAT policy will address issues of inequalities and compliance in the payment of tax. Here is the Deputy Minister for Finance, Dr. John Kuma, justifying the introduction of the policy in the debate on the 2022 mid-year budget review statement in Parliament.
Compliance with the value-added tax has traditionally been a challenge to the largely informal nature of transactions in the economy. Quite a number of importers who are registrable for VAT are currently not in the database of the Ghana Revenue Authority. To assure revenue, an upfront payment of 12.5% on the cost, insurance and freight value of a taxable good imported by a person who has not registered for VAT will be imposed at the ports of entry. An importer will, however, be permitted to recover the upfront payment when the importer registers and files a value-added tax return. Accordingly, the bill seeks to amend the VAT Act 2013 Act 870 to broaden the scope for the taxation of electronic commerce, provide for electronic issuance of a tax invoice, and upfront payment of VAT by an unregistered importer, and the zero rating of the supply of locally assembled vehicles. It is envisaged that cumulatively, the amendment to the VAT Act 2013 Act 870 would result in a tax revenue of approximately 750 million cedis.
For persons seeking to register their businesses, you would soon be able to do so wherever you are, as the Registrar of Companies has hinted of plans to begin the digital registration from next year. The platform is reported to be a user-friendly online platform which would facilitate the registration of businesses and prevent the long delays associated with registration in the country.
The government has been optimistic that challenges associated with registration of businesses in Ghana will be tackled following the recent launch of the Office of the Registrar of Companies. Currently, business owners or clients have the burden of walking to the Registrar General's department and following manual procedures to have their outfits registered. But the Registrar General, Jemima Oware, says this tax would soon end as a digital software is being created so that every procedure will be done online. She spoke to Citi Business News on the sidelines of a roundtable discussion organized by Veritas International nominees and Trustees Limited on the theme Doing Business in Ghana, a Legal Perspective.
That is coming on within a year's time. It's now going to be advertised. Whoever the developer will develop it, and within a year's time, this new software will be more digital than it currently is now. You will not be walking into our offices with paper anymore. You now work, you work online, you submit your applications online, we work on it at the back end online. Wherever you are, you print out your documents and you move on. Open your bank account or do whatever you want to do.
Jemima Oware further urged Ghanaians to make use of the platform to avoid being duped by third-party agents, locally called Guru Boys.
I don't know why Ghanaians always don't want to do things themselves. They want to let somebody do things and then they'll rip you off. A business name is just 60 Ghana cedis. They'll pay somebody 300 Ghana cedis to register online for them, a business name, because they just don't want to even try and understand the system. So this is my advice. If we make it user-friendly, please use it. That's all I'll say. Use it. Try it. And let's hope that everything will work right. And within 30 minutes, wherever you are, you get your certificate. And then you will testify that we have changed.
The Registrar General then assured that her outfit will soon begin the integration of their customers' TIN and Ghana cards to help track business owners who commit fraud or go against the laws.
Currently, the current e-registrar, it's not been upgraded to accept the Ghana card yet because of contractual obligations we have with our software developer. That is why we are still using the tax identification number. But that is also going to be upgraded even before the new system is brought in place. The key thing here is the unique identifier, which is the NIA card, which will identify every individual, either a shareholder or a business, a sole proprietor. You know, people used to have as many as 3 or 4 TINs. And so that is going to be a thing of the past. The unique identifier will help you to track everybody in the system. And if for any reason you commit fraud and cause a company to go down electronically, once we are alerted, you'll be flagged in the system.
Citi TV is live. On DSTV, go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
The National After Policy Framework and Action Plan for boosting Ghana's trade with Africa was launched in Accra on Tuesday. President Akufo-Addo has thus tasked the Ministry for Trade and Industry to ensure the hastened implementation of programs under the African Continental Free Trade Area after agreement to allow for businesses to export significantly across the continent.
Ghana, as the host country for the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area (AfTA), has a critical role to play in its implementation. This requires sustained political commitment and leadership to encourage the rest of Africa to take the bold, critical but difficult steps needed to bring prosperity to the continent. It is against this background that the Ministry of Trade and Industry has led the development of the National AfTA Policy Framework and Action Plan for boosting Ghana's trade with Africa. The plan outlines the short to medium-term implementation priorities and strategies for the Ghanaian private sector to harness the full benefits of the AfTA. Presenting a speech on behalf of the President, the Minister for Information, Kojo Nkrumah, tasked the private sector to continue collaborating with the government to ensure the success of the AfTA.
To the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ghana Coordinating Office of the AFCFTA, this framework, as brilliantly as it is structured, will not mean much if you do not implement the programs under it with speed, effectiveness, and commitment. It is your successful implementation of the programs under this framework that matters, and which will ensure that thousands of Ghanaian businesses can ride on it and export significantly into the African continent, thereby boosting local economic activity, our growth, jobs, and earnings. So go at it and don't be held back by the hurdles that may come your way. To the Ghanaian private sector, your government is working through this and other initiatives to make it relatively easier for you to get access to this large market in Africa so that you can trade more goods and services out. Yours is to take advantage of it and collaborate with us to resolve any teething challenges that may come up.
The Director of Trade in Goods and Competition at the AfTA Secretariat, Mohammed Ali, speaking on behalf of the Secretary General of the Secretariat, outlined the progress that has been made in the AfTA following the just concluded 9th meeting of the AfTA Council of Ministers responsible for trade.
I'm pleased to announce that the Council of Ministers also approved a Secretariat-led initiative for guided trade under the AFCFTA. This initiative seeks to facilitate commercially meaningful trading among interested state parties that have met the minimum requirement for trade under the agreement. And I'm delighted also to note that Ghana is one of the state parties that have expressed interest in being part of the initiative. Actually, Ghana plays a pivotal and focal role in facilitating the first guided trade initiative. Specifically, the initiative is facilitating trade between Ghana and Egypt, representing the Northern African region, Ghana and Cameroon, representing the Central African region, Ghana and Kenya and Rwanda, representing the Eastern African region, Ghana and Mauritius, representing the Southern African region.
Access to housing can really be a challenge, especially for those of us in the capital. It's either too expensive or not conducive, not forgetting the advance payments landlords also expect from us. There might be light at the end of the tunnel, as the Ministry of Works and Housing says processes have begun to set up a Ghana Housing Authority to lead the supply side of the housing market. The sector ministry added that setting up the Housing Authority will help manage and plan for housing development in Ghana.
Data from the Ghana Statistical Service indicates that although the country's housing deficit in the last 50-year period continually witnessed an upward trend from 1 million to 2.8 million from 1950 to 2010, it is currently at 1.8 million. This 33% reduction in the country's housing deficit represents a massive improvement in the provision of housing in the country. On the back of this, the sector ministry is intensifying efforts to do better in the coming years. The Works and Housing Minister, Francis Asenso-Boakye, says processes have begun to set up a Ghana Housing Authority to lead the supply side of the housing market. The minister was speaking at the launch of Apollonia City's first commercial building, Eduama Place.
The Ministry of Works and Housing has initiated the process to establish the Ghana Housing Authority, which will have the mandate to regulate, plan, and manage housing development in Ghana in collaboration with private developers such as Apollonia City. Additionally, the Rent Act 1963, Act 220, as amended, was passed by Parliament 59 years ago, and therefore its relevance has been outlived by rapid urbanization and population growth, as well as other attendant difficulties that have engulfed the housing sector. It is therefore necessary to reform the existing legislation, remove the inherent constraints on housing supply, maintain the protection it offers low-income and vulnerable tenants from abuse and arbitrary actions, and offer incentives which will stimulate private sector investment.
Over the years, the private sector has played a major role in supporting the government in its quest to provide affordable housing for Ghanaians. The development of Apollonia City is one of such initiatives. Apollonia City is a new $250 million city under development aimed at providing Ghanaians with better accommodation in an urban environment. The launch of Apollonia City's first A-grade commercial office building is aimed at providing residents in the city with retail components. CEO of Apollonia City, Bright Owusu Amofa, has been telling City Business News what the new building has to offer.
Eduama Place is a 2,000 square meter first phase, which will I say mixed-use complex. Everything you see on the ground floor is retail. So we've already signed up. So C&J is coming. There's going to be a clinic here, a pharmacy, a grocery shop, and we're talking to a few other partners to get a restaurant here. If it goes very well, we'll then do a second phase and a third phase, and then it expands. Top 2 floors are offices, so that's going to be our new head office, and then there are a few other tenants who will be joining us. So really, that's what it's about. And we are launching this because we're basically trying to tell the market that we promised mixed-use development. And what a mixed-use development is, it's not just about building homes, but you need these things to catalyze, the rest of the community.
Bright Owusu further outlined some challenges in the sector that needs to be looked at urgently to better the real estate sector.
As an industry, we all have issues with the land tenure system and sometimes the court systems. Certain individuals and people, I think, have developed a model where they essentially bring all sorts of spurious cases, and as developers, we spend a lot of money in court, spend a lot of money trying to prevent these things. And if we're able to cut down all of these, necessary costs, as I call it, we can, would much rather pass that cost savings on to our clients. And generally, the business environments, I don't think we ask for a lot. I mean, the sad thing, well, it's not really sad, but about 70% to 80% of the components that go into real estate are imported. And so what that means is that when the city is not stable, it affects our pricing. When we have a high tax regime, it affects our price. And so once we have a stable business environment, like every other sector, I believe that we are going to thrive.
The World Bank recently released a $10 million grant to be injected into the tourism sector, and the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture says industry players must have a good sense of purpose to qualify for the grant. Additionally, those in the sector can also access the $25 million invested by the government to boost tourism. All these, according to the ministry, are geared towards making tourism the #1 contributor to the nation's GDP.
According to the Deputy Minister for Tourism, Art and Culture, Marco Kreku Mante, who was speaking at the ongoing Central Expo 2022 in Cape Coast, despite the injection of huge funds into the sector, there is the need for players to possess good interpersonal skill and other strengths such as grooming to rake in return in the space. According to him, these additional skill will woo investors into the sector. The minister also stressed the need for industry players to change their mindset towards tourism to ensure the success of the sector.
I mean, if the year of return alone could give us 3.3 billion USD, let's find out that year how much we got from cocoa. It should tell you that if we all agree as a people in a country that we are going to use tourism, the person selling the product will be a master of client service. The CEO will make sure that the organization works well. The taxi driver, the Uber driver knows that the country has an agenda of making tourism #1, and so they should know how to dress, they should know how to talk to people. Grooming is a big deal if you're selling a product. And then how we relate to people, interpersonal skill. All of these will come and aggregate and make our tourism big. And so President has put in the money, but the rest does not rely on President or government per se. Corporate Ghana, individuals, our normal culture, our home, the training, how we clean our homes, the environment, including the beaches. And so I remember in my speech I mentioned that we should keep the beaches clean because that is the goal of Central region, and not just Central, Volta, Greater Accra, because they are by the seaside.
The president of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Odefo Amoakwabuedu VIII, said the expo had come at a good time and it will market the region and change its status as one of the poorest despite its huge tourism potential.
It has been our aspiration, and indeed that of all of us citizens in the region, to see a new central region where there will be more industries and businesses in various sectors to spur economic growth. We want to see more jobs created to absorb our youth, most of whom currently remain unemployed. We want to see a business environment that will give our youth more confidence to set up their own businesses. Also, we want to see a region that is no longer considered as poor. That has been the case in past years. The Central Expo 2022 is well embraced and seen as an enabler to help the region meet our expectations.
For these exhibitors, their worry was whether government would continue to provide the enabling environment to ensure the success of businesses. Some of them shared their struggles in the tourism domain with Citi News.
Like, for instance, you can produce, let's say 3 times in a year because it's 3 months. So every quarter you can cultivate and you do the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. But I can assure you, you won't get into vegetable farming and lose. The only thing that will make you lose is you don't have the technical knowledge and the labor force and the practical knowledge.
We have good business potential, but because it's not promoted, people actually don't know what it is. So people see J Bani, they heard it, but now today they've seen actually what we do. Yes, about 10 range of products and all are very good.
Post-harvest losses remains a major challenge for farmers across the country, and to prevent this and wastage, farmers in Agotime in the Volta region are calling on the government to construct a tomato processing factory to process their produce under the flagship One District, One Factory policy. They believe this, if done, will go a long way to help tomato farmers in the community reduce their losses significantly.
It is estimated that about 1/3 of food produced globally is lost or wasted, representing a loss of 1.3 billion tons of food per year. Although post-harvest losses may occur naturally, other factors such as the unavailability of ready markets and processing factories impact negatively on the industry. The lack of this causes tomato farmers in Agotime in the Volta region to make losses after harvesting. Bismarck Nomenyo is a tomato farmer here at Agotime. He narrates their challenges, which he says impacts negatively on their businesses.
From the beginning of the season, it rains much, but it gets to a certain stage and it was not raining till now. But the most challenge that we face is that supply of fertilizer too is a major problem. So most farmers do not get the fertilizer to purchase, though they have the money or the capital resource to purchase it. And as it started, the season started, they started harvesting. Most buyers, they refuse to come. Actually, I would say that they did not get buyers, people that to purchase the product. And those that are willing to come to, because there are no other people to buy to be a competitive, they decide the money to pay.
If like tomatoes factory area ma, Jopi area ma, other tomatoes factory, ikabananya ba wanya factory price la ademiaji. Besuba mo kachuna akrakle kumasi takradi mokata matin avak ba miagaju.
Some farmers have also been sharing their frustrations with Citi News.
I think that if there should be a factory or something like that, in this area, Agotime Jopi mostly they are, I would say that major producers of tomatoes, or they are one of major producers in Ghana. But when it comes here, you will not see any factory here for which there will be a competitive. Other when they refuse to buy, they will take it to the factory for processing. As those things are not here, they decide what to do. So if there should be a factory or more buyers coming in to purchase the products, I think that will be.
According to Bismarck and other farmers, the call for the factory is as a result of constant post-harvest losses, which needs to be addressed.
Tomato is something that you cannot keep. It's something that you cannot store for a number of days. So as they decide the money to pay you, you have no other choice than to give them.
Speaking to Citi News, Chairman for the Agotime Vegetable Growers Association said the construction of the processing factory will inure to benefit of all.
Nigeria Krita do 800,000, 700,000, 200. Takapayama near Krita 200, 150, 100. Eka we about 150, 200. Ta for them nami. Maybe me put them in the government. I know or nami. Never factory, I have a factory at
It's very interesting that while some farmers are dealing with post-harvest losses, some businesses are also dealing with shortage of raw materials. The Ghana Exim Bank has initiated the Raw Material Development Project aimed at addressing these challenges amongst companies it is financing. According to the bank, most of the factories it is supporting in the central region are struggling with adequate raw materials, thus preventing them from producing at a large scale.
According to the Ghana Exim Bank, over 122 factories have been supported by the bank under the 1D 1F project. In the central region alone, over 12 factories have benefited from support from the bank. Over 100 million cedis has been invested under the 1D 1F initiative. Despite the support for various factories in the central and other regions, the bank says some of the factories are faced with some challenges. According to Bright Evans Darko, the head of SME at the bank, all the factories that have been supported in the region are facing raw material challenges, citing the Konfi Fruit and Juices factory in the Konfi in the central region as one of the factories. He indicated that the Konfi Fruit and Juices factory, as a result of this, was only able to undertake production work between 8 to 10 days in a month. Here is the head of SME at the bank, Bright Evans Darko, speaking to Citi News about the challenges the factory is facing.
Under the government's 1D1F flagship program, a total of 122 factories, both green and brownfield factories, have been supported by Ghana Exim Bank. Out of this, 12 are in central region alone. A total investment of over 100 million Ghana cedi under 1D1F have been invested in the region. All the factories we have financed in the region are in dire need of raw materials to produce at full capacity, where we'll all enjoy the full benefit. It's interesting for you to note that a Kumfi factory that has permits or is selling on the US market and the Ivory Coast market produce only 8 to 10 days in a month. Only 8 to 10 days in a month due to inadequate raw material. We therefore call on all authorities to collaborate with the factories to address these raw material challenges. Addressing these challenges will create more jobs, more profitability for those companies, economically empower the people, thereby alleviating poverty in the region.
In its quest to address these challenges, the bank has initiated the Raw Material Development Project, where the bank will collaborate with other stakeholders to develop adequate raw materials for the factories it has financed. The bank says addressing these challenges will create more jobs and alleviate poverty in the region.
The bank, in its quest to address these challenges, has initiated what we call the Raw Material Development Project. Through this project, the bank seeks to collaborate with other stakeholders to develop adequate raw materials for the factories it has financed in these 6 value chains. That is pineapple, coconuts, watermelon, oil palm, kenaf, and avocado. Under this initiative, farmers will be supported through an outgrower schemes to grow the above crops and get off-takers who will buy everything that they produce. A technical consultant will be engaged to assist them on good agronomic practices. We therefore call on MOFA officers, DCEs, to get involved and support this initiative.
Finally, let's talk about innovations. 4 students of the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, have developed a multi-purpose emergency detection system called OraSafe, which has the ability to detect gas leakage, smoke, and fire. The system also comes with automatic SMS and phone notifications. It's very impressive to see students put to good use all that they learn in school. This is very impressive.
According to the World Bank, the potential gains from innovation in terms of solving societal problems, boosting incomes, jobs, and economic growth are enormous. It is for this reason the University of Mines and Technology in Takwa, through its platform of innovation and career fair, is seeking to unearth student innovators. In all, 13 students exhibited their innovations, but 5 contestants came tops. The 5 were given seed money as well as an offer to be enrolled at the university's incubation hub. 2 of the contestants, whose OraSafe emergency detection system innovation won the contest, spoke to Citi News about their innovation.
We developed a multi-purpose emergency detection system, that is the OraSafe. It's able to detect gas leakage, smoke, and fire, and it's able to communicate to the user through SMS and phone call. With the SMS, it comes with the exact location at where the fire is coming. And the device again comes with an app, that's the OraSafe app. It's able to control the main meter and also all electrical appliances present in the home. We are still working on it. It's still in the developing stage, and it's going to replace the ordinary devices, fire detectors that we have in the market, because this one is going to be portable and you will be able to test whether the device is working or not, so as to be sure that the device in your home is for protection. So with the course, since we are still developing it, currently at the stage, we will appeal to investors, we will appeal to investors to come, because some of the components are there we need to purchase to make the device very effective and more smarter, so as to meet the standard of the market.
Focus our minds on how to save lives, and then we focus on the problems we have noticed around. I think that is also a factor in our winning.
The Vice Chancellor of UMAT, while commending the students for their innovation, said the university has scaled up its objective to create a business out of student innovation every year.
Even those who were not selected, the projects that they presented were very innovative, and I'm very happy about that. For those who were not selected, and even for those who have been selected, let me mention that we are going to give room for any group of people who have ideas to come back to school and do their national service here for 1 year. And these ideas would be incubated for 1 year. And I'm hoping that by the end of this year, those that are scalable, possibly we can create businesses out of it. We are in touch with the SME groups, and we believe that this year we can create one company out of the ideas you are going to present. I believe that we can impact the society with the ideas today.
Abraham Osebonsu of Anglo-God Ashanti Ibrapre Mines, which sponsored the innovation competition, emphasized the importance of innovation.
Well, that is all time will allow us for this week's episode of your most watched business show in the country. This is the Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV. For more business stories, please check out our website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Let's connect on Twitter, @mobodu. Catch you same time next week. Stay safe, stay informed. Bye-bye.